Oh, the 1970s. Who could forget the decade that brought us fads like the pet rock and waterbeds, and some unforgettable fashions like platform shoes and bell-bottom pants. And no one will ever forget how disco ruled the airwaves. That's not the only thing that ruled the airwaves in the 1970s. There was also CB radio. But what made CB radio become so popular? Well, we're going to discuss that in this video. 1970s had a lot going on, but we're going to focus on the year 1973. That time period, America was still involved with the Vietnam War. Richard Nixon was under investigation for the Watergate scandals. And AIM, or the American Indian Movement, had seized control of Wounded Knee and held it for 71 days, but none of this had an effect on CB radio. So then what happened in 1973 that made CB radio become so popular? We'll answer that question in a minute, but first, Raccoon's Radio Ranch is happy to announce that we now have merchandise. We have various styles of t-shirts and hoodies. As well as multiple styles of cell phone cases, pins, and magnets and stickers. We also have a few styles of coffee mugs. And we have travel mugs and water bottles too. So if you'd like to show a little support to the channel, please hit the link in the description below and visit our store. And as always, thank you for your support. Now to answer that question, it was the 1973 oil embargo. But how did the 1973 oil embargo have an effect on making CB popular? Well, we'll start by talking about the Yom Kippur War, which took place in October of 1973. It began when Egypt and Syria launched an attack on Israel in hopes for them to gain a foothold on the Suez Canal. Why did that affect us here in America? Because the organization known as OPEC vowed to place an oil embargo on anyone that aided Israel during the Yom Kippur War. Cutting oil off to the world. And that is what began the 1973 oil crisis. People all over the nation were sitting in lines for hours and hours just at the hope of getting 10 gallons of gas, which they were only allowed to get every other day, and that was based on their license plate numbers. Some people ran out of gas while waiting in line. They sat there so long, or got to the pumps only to find out the gas stations were now closed because they ran out of gas. And that created a lot of heated tension between Americans. That's one of the reasons the CB radio became popular. It was because of these long lines for gas that people sat in for hours, gas stations running out of gas, and the fact that Richard Nixon had signed a law into effect dropping the national speed limit to 55 miles an hour in hopes of lowering the consumption of fuel. It was because of that truckers needed a way to know how they could get gas without having to wait in long lines or finding stations that were shut down. They also needed to know where all the speed traps were to prevent themselves from getting tickets for going above the 55 mile an hour speed limit. That's when CB became popular, and it didn't take long for it to catch on with the rest of the country. Remember, this was a time before cell phones became popular, and social networks like Facebook and Twitter had not been invented yet. As some people would like to say that we were living in the Stone Age before cell phones and social networks, but I tend to disagree with that. I think, in my opinion, the country was a much better place long before social network came along. But I'm getting a little off topic here, so I'll get back onto the topic again. Next time somebody tries to tell you that they think CB radio is dead, you tell them that they're wrong. CB radio is still popular, and has been popular since the 1973 oil crisis. And there are still hundreds of people all over the nation talking on their CB radios daily. That's the end of the video. If you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe to subscribe to the channel. And click the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. Thanks for watching.